Hey everyone, this is Brian from Madness and Motive, back with a recap of the Kouri Richins trial, day 3. We only had one witness today. It was a carryover from day 2. The defense wasn't finished with Chelsea Gibson, and they actually scored quite a few points today, and I'm going to show you that. I've also got some diagrams of the home to show you what was searched and what was missed. I think it's really helpful to see it. And then at the end, I'm going to show you some audience analysis that I did of social media comments so you can see where people stand on this case. I think you'll be surprised. Like I said, our witness today is Chelsea Gibson, lead crime scene technician. The defense opens by saying, "You're the evidence lady, right?" They wanted to establish that. She agrees. Then the defense spent the rest of the morning systematically exposing what investigators didn't do. First of all, the defense walked the witness through her activity on the night of March 4, 2022. That's when Eric was found dead, okay? And one of the big things is she never entered the kitchen, so nothing in there was searched. And that's really important because the theory is that Eric was poisoned through a drink. A Moscow Mule is what it's called. And if you don't search the kitchen, you can't take photos of counters, the sink, the trash, etc. So that's a big miss. She never opened the cabinet above the toilet in the master bathroom, never searched the closet fully, never went upstairs or downstairs. She also couldn't confirm whether a green jacket with gummies poking out of it had been there the night of the death. Now, if you recall from day 2, there was a second search done April 13th. Remember, the night of the first investigation was March 4th. So weeks later, April 13th, they returned to the house. They were finding gummies everywhere, and one of the locations was this green jacket. So this was not seen the night of the death. Here's another thing the defense surfaced. A wallet on the nightstand had been moved from the kitchen by someone. We don't know who, probably one of the investigators or techs, whatever. The defense was pointing out that that could have altered any residue that might be underneath it, like on top of the nightstand. This witness said she didn't photograph what was under that wallet. So it was another blind spot. And speaking of, we're at the diagrams I've made of the house. Now, these aren't accurate to what the actual rooms look like, but this is just so you can see rather than just hear about what was missed. So first of all, we have the kitchen completely not searched. So all these are gaps. No search of countertops, sink, trash, upper cabinet, fridge, nothing. If you visit my website, madnessandmotive.com, you can actually interact with these diagrams by hovering over the different elements in the room, and you can get a little more information. Here's a little more on the trash. The medical examiner investigator noted a ginger beer bottle in the kitchen trash can. Now that is an ingredient in a Moscow Mule. The crime scene tech, which is our witness in day 3, never entered the kitchen to document this. That's a big miss. In the master bedroom, you can see only the bed is considered a search area, something that was inventoried. The closet was only partially searched. This is where the green jacket full of gummies was found later, so that's a miss. And then we've got the nightstand, drawers not opened. There was a wallet on top of it. We don't know what was underneath. And from day 2, we learned you could see some white specks of powder on the nightstand. Those were not tested, so we don't know what they were. Then we have the master bathroom. The upper medicine cabinet was not searched, and this was another location where gummies were found later. So we've got some big misses here. I think a lot of people might have felt that this case was a slam dunk. I know the majority of people feel that Kouri is guilty, but we're in a battle here. The defense is definitely scoring. But to be fair, the prosecution didn't even get a turn today. Here's another big one, the pill bottle that nobody tested. There was some confusion around multiple hydrocodone bottles. There was one from the nightstand near Eric's body the night he died. This was sent with his body to the medical examiner's office. but Gibson never got it back, so it was never tested for fentanyl residue. Here's a quote from the defense. So if there was fentanyl residue in that empty pill bottle from 2016, we won't know it because you never took it to be tested, right? And of course, the witness confirmed. That's a serious problem. And that dovetails with this next point that the defense made, the paraphernalia question. The defense confirmed that Gibson found no drug paraphernalia the night Eric died. No bongs, vape pens, scales, whatever. But then she pivoted. Could an expired prescription bottle be considered paraphernalia if it was used to store illicit drugs? And the witness agreed it could be. The implication here is that we're planting the seed that Eric may have been self-administering drugs that were stored in an old pill bottle from 2016. It's expired 6 years, it's untested, and it's now a question mark. For me, this is a big score, and one reason why I think it is because it's surprising. When information comes at you and it's unexpected and it's a pretty valid point, which I think this is, that tends to be really sticky. It's going to be easy to recall later when the group is discussing evidence. Then we have April 13th. That's going to be our second search. This was based off a warrant. And one of the things the defense drilled into here is that there's no way Kouri could have expected this search to happen. And I think what they might be trying to do is throw a little water on the fire that the prosecution started up by maybe implying, okay, all of a sudden on April 13th, the second search is done and all these gummies are found all over the house. It seems a little suspicious, like they could have been planted. So I think that's what the defense is dealing with here in this line of questioning. There was a legal sidebar. The witness was being asked about calls, and she said, "Are you talking about jail calls?" That's a significant, I don't know if I would call it a slip or anything like that, but jurors are not supposed to know whether a defendant is or has been in custody. So the judge returns with an instruction: do not consider or speculate at any time during this case or during your deliberations about whether the defendant was or is in custody at any time. That is not evidence of anything. So that's a really important thing to note. The judge had to end abruptly because he had a scheduling conflict. I know a lot of people online were upset with this, but we're going to resume in the day 4 recap, and it's going to be this same witness that starts that day. So some of the defense's strongest cards, just to recap: crime scene was barely documented, a lot of misses, which you can clearly see when it's visualized like that. That's why visualizations are so important. The nightstand hydrocodone bottle was never tested. That's a big one. And old prescription bottles could be considered paraphernalia. Again, that's a surprising, kind of unexpected insight. And I think that one's going to be sticky. No real need to go over the prosecution scoring because they didn't get a turn today. Let's look at where the audience stands. I analyzed over 150 social media comments across YouTube and Reddit, and we're at 80% believing she's guilty. Now, that is actually an 8% drop from day 1. We have to be fair. Only the defense got a turn, so I think this is probably normal. We'll see what happens with day 4 when the prosecution has a chance to get back into the ring. Several commenters on YouTube said the state hasn't proven enough yet. And we saw this in day 2 as well. People are feeling that the prosecution may be a little clumsy, disorganized. They're not making those strong points. Defense kind of seems stronger, and they're really targeted and scoring, at least in my opinion, from what I can see. Reddit tended to be a little more analytical. They were focused on the investigation gaps, and they also noted that this was a medical call response, not a murder scene. Officers didn't know to search deeper because fentanyl wasn't discovered until later, so that's an interesting point. If you enjoyed the recap, please consider subscribing to my channel and leave me a comment. I love hearing from you. And do consider visiting my website, madnessandmotive.com, where you can read these recaps. You can look at interactive diagrams, see where the audience stands, and I've even got a full timeline of the case that you can explore if you're trying to catch up on the bigger picture. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.